everybody, welcome to the Footywired 2025 preview and review show. Reviewing round 2 and previewing round 3. And let's have a look at round 2, where some teams have gotten off to a fast start, while others really need to realise that the season has started. We've had some high-scoring games last week, we had some low-scoring games in the round. So let's get started and go to the first game of the round. Alright, so the first game we're going to look at is Seek and Destroy versus Gators Bitches, and Gators Bitches were able to get their first win of the season, beating Seek and Destroy 365.5 to 334.5. Seek and Destroy being one of two teams to yet to win a game this season. It is only round 2 though. So Seek and Destroy had a few players down in last week's efforts, with their best player for the team being Dagos at utility with 99.5, and LDU and JHF getting pass scores for their position compared to the others in their lineup. Gators' two line boys picked up the slack from last week, with Nil getting 70s and mid and Zorko 55 as a follower, which were two great scores. And Newcomb had an all-round great game for the Hawkers. Got 64 as a tackler. Firmly optimised lineups though, what a contest that would have been. 1.5 points difference on the optimised lineups. The major changes for Gators would have been Newcomb at utility and Andrews at halfback, while Seek and Destroy would have been Drew as a tackler and also a couple other positional changes there. Alright, so let's move on to the next game. The next game is Maltese Falcons, who put in the performance of the round, 443.5 to 345.5, smashing Renegades. It was an absolute all-round team performance for Falcons, making it hard to really pick three standout performers. Renegades wasn't that hard, considering they only had a few good ones, to be honest. Falcons were led by Libba as a mid, who was 68, and Hewitt was just as good as a tackler, who got 60. The rest were pretty even given the dominance of the positions head-to-head. So I actually chose Crouch as one of the three best players, just over Blakey to be as their standouts. For Renegades, Sicily was well loopholed as a halfback. He got 67 and Rankin got 40 as a half forward. And considering Rankin only played 3 quarters, that's a pretty good effort. And Nank as a ruck got 39, and he was one of the better ruck performances of the week. Several of the optimised lineups, and we almost had as high a margin of optimised lineups as we did with the actual contest. A few changes to both sides though. Oliver, the clear ambition there for Renegades, and Reed as a tackler, the other two that will come to their team with the clear probably standouts. Falcons could have brought in Tex at half forward, moved Tracy to full forward. Hewitt actually would have gone as utility, and Mulch, who would have gone to tackler, who would have got the same score as Hewitt as a tackler. And that's that one. So let's go on to the next game now. And that one's the game of the round. And it is the game of the round. Gods of Olympus keeping their unbeaten run into the season going with a hard-fought 26.5-point win over the giant cocks themselves, El Diablos. 399.5 to 373. The clear difference in the game come at the utility position, with Rosie feasting on the young Tigers and scoring 111.5 compared to Cripps, who was loopholding at utility and only got 87. Chad Warner was best of field again, possibly against his future employees, but it does sound like he's going to re-sign with the Swans. He got 59 as a half forward, outscoring his opponent by 41 points, and Ackland's got 55 as a tackler. El Diablos, their biggest performer was Keys, who got 54 at full forward, and he won that position by 48 points as well. While Luke Ryan, although below his standard from last year, got 57 as a halfback for those ones there. So the optimised lineups still had the Gods win, with a couple of North boys coming in at full forward for both teams. The Gods would have got Marshall at utility because he had pretty much got back to his game from last week, where he was forward, and this week he went everywhere, so back to his best, which Michael's pretty happy about. So now that game's done, get ready to get a bit bored, because the next game was an absolute snorefest. Alright, in a low scoring contest, The reigning Premier was defeated 282 to 303.5. Crucially, though, for the Sugar Daddies, Tom Stewart did leave the game early with an injury, and he was only able to get 6 points. It clearly affected the result of this game. Both full forwards were outstanding, with Georgiades getting 54 and Fogarty getting 43. Merritt had an all-around good game. I think he had 36 possessions and 4 goals, but he was put in as mid, and he got 68 as a mid, and Bailey Dale got 52. Both rucks were put as their best players, considering everyone else was a little bit down. They got what was expected of them. Cameron was loopholed as well. If we look at the optimised lineups, these is pretty interesting optimised lineup, to be honest with you. So it's 2 weeks in a row, Rains have had an optimised score of over 400. Yet the highest they've scored over the first 2 rounds is 311. Hopefully it doesn't, but perhaps their luck will change next week versus the Gators, considering the Gators may not have a ruck. So let's look at the last game of round 2. Bombers forever continuing their hot start to the season. They got another huge score and smashing Punters Paddock 412.5 to 354.5. The Bombers have started the season averaging 437 points. They've played 1 game without their best ruck and still have last year's best player in the game, Marcus Montempelli, to come to the lineup. Sam Darcy's been benched. Well, that's how good their lineup is going. Their hot start, that has coincided with the hot form of the Crows with their forward line. Thrill-Seeker and Michelli both scoring mid-40s, while McRae is his typical ball magnet at best, and he does what he wants in that same midfield. He got 119.5. There were a couple of others who could have made their best performances, but I've capped it at 3, as you can tell with what's happened so far. For punters, they loopholed Dorsey at utility, and the 106.5 actually vindicated that decision. Mick was well presented for the rucks with 37, and Ed Richards does what Ed Richards does. He got 55 as a mid. If we do have a look at the optimised lineups, though, once again, we had Bombers win big again. However, Darcy would have covered at full forward, and Caleb Daniel at halfback, and Doherty would have gone in as a tackler. While for the punters, their forward line would have looked completely different, and the changes to halfback amongst others. So let's look at the ladder, and let's have a look at the team of the week. So a quick recap of round 2. Gods, Bombers, Falcons, Gators and Rangers all get the win. Gods and Bombers get 2 wins in a row, while the others get their first win of the season. The team of the week would have scored 560.5. Ben Key's full forward 54. Merritt would have been the half forward with 72. And McRae would have been the utility of 119.5. Merritt would have actually got a better utility score, but this is the optimised lineup to get the best possible score. DeConey continued his form. He would have got 43 as a ruck. And Oliver would have been the best mid with 71. Rosie, the best bowler, with 69. And then Daniels moves off the bench, off Bombers' bench, and into the halfback position with 68. Newcomb would have been the best tackler in a round where there was a lot of good tacklers, and he got 64. So if we have a look at it, the ladder after round 2, this sees 2 teams unbeaten and 2 teams yet to get a win. Still a bit too early to score, but you can see a bit of dominance there from some of the teams. Alright, so now it's time to have a preview of round 3. This week, 2 more teams having buys in the Swans and the Pies, so adjust your lineups accordingly, please. We do go into the round with Punters Paddock and Seekers Choice seeking their first win, while Bombers Forever and Gods Lewis looking to stay undefeated. Let's have a look at this week's fixtures and the squads. Remember, these lineups are as the time of the recording, which is Wednesday night, and most likely are going to change. So we're simply going to look at likely loopholes and availability and so forth, etc. And this is probably the format we're going to take for the rest of the season, just so you all know. Alright, so let's start this week's games when we've got Sugar Daddies, who are currently 7th, the rating champions. They're playing Renegades, who are 5th. Sugar's scored well below 300 last week, and we could be looking to bounce back. Stewart is a test. Is he going to be back? We're not sure. I don't reckon he will, but you never know whether they've taken to Brisbane or not. And they also are still without Parrish, but Parrish is also a test, so he might get it back. I don't think Parrish was picked, so this is Wednesday night, and from what I remember the teams, Parrish wasn't picked, so you're right. Darcy Cameron is out. He's got the bye, but he's got plenty of coverage with Sherry Zarak and also Bailey Williams. What they do is they do welcome back Tukwila and Matt Rao from the bye, as well as Himmelberg. Harry Mackay and Stringer are also tests, so they should possibly be available, but we'll see if they are or not. Renegades look to put Durham as a loophole player this week, so the team was already set up. I did do this little screen that you see in front of you on Tuesday, so someone's done the team Wednesday night. I haven't seen it. And Durham plays Thursday night, so that's probably why Durham's been loopholed. With him well welcome return for Hogan. He is a test, but more than likely Hogan will be selected when he takes on the Hawks on Saturday night. Warp was still possibly 2 weeks away, and it looks like Daniels is a test as well. Heaney has to buy, so he's not available for selection. Right, the next game now, we've got Falcons, who are sitting in third, coming off a weak high score last week. Last week's high score, should I say, last week. We'll be looking to continue that high scoring form. They take on Hunters Paddock, who are currently ninth. They are chasing their first win of the year. Besides the injury to Waterman, who I think Waterman may be a test as well, Falcons go into the game with almost a full squad to choose from. They do lose Blakey, who is their halfback, as a bye, but the locker replacement there is probably Jacob Wiedering. They will welcome back Finn Callahan and Tom Green, who are both look like they've started the season in red-hot form, especially Finn Callahan, and also Will Powell is back from their bye. What's their likely loophole? They've got Carlton boys on Friday night. 5 out of the 8 could be playing on Friday night, so more than likely he's going to choose 5 out of the 8 guys that are playing Friday night to be his loophole. Punters Paddock, they've got 5 injuries, and they're one of them playable on their list with Jamari Ugle-Hagan. They're not available for selection. Really looks set to return from concussion. He was named, so he's likely to play, but Myercheck does have to bye. Bedford and Whitfield will return from their byes, and possibly poll here will be Ed Richards on Friday night, or possibly even Salem. Now, the next game, Gators Bitches versus Raggers, looks like it could be a pretty interesting one. Gators Bitches are currently 6th, Raggers are currently 8th. And the reason why this could be interesting is because if you look at Raggers' optimised score each week, he's got a well over 400. However, he hasn't really scored more than 300, well, he hasn't scored more than 311. So will he get it right this week? Who knows? Gators are going to be hoping that Matt Flynn gets recorded. Otherwise, he's left without a ruck due to the bye for Grundy and Laddams. And also, Houston has a bye, so you're going to lose Houston as well. Butters and Yo are still injured, and they're probably still 3 to 5 weeks away, so still a little bit of time before they come back. But Ash does return from the bye. Rangers, though, they have a few coming back from the bye. They've got Noah Anderson, they've got Steve Canilio, and they've got Jake Kelly, all coming back from their byes, but they do lose to Goey to his bye. Stephen May has that larynx injury. He's a test, so he might be available. But Bolter is still suspended for being a naughty boy in the off-season. Both teams do have some options for loopholes. Gators having their options from McGrath on Thursday night or Kernow and Orner from Friday night. But looking likely, as you can tell from the squad, probably Petrarca on Saturday. And Rangers have the options of Merritt, who started the year on fire, even Georgiadis, or you can opt for the Saturday afternoon games as a likely choice in Anderson or Viney for that one. So let's have a look at the next game. Odds, second on the ladder, undefeated, play Seek and Destroy, who are last and defeated. The bye does look to have an effect on this one. Possibly best players missing for both teams in Chad Warner and Nick Dacos. Gods also have the other Dacos and Membry out for the bye, and Pickett is still suspended. While the S&Ds have Logan McDonald, I think he might be 1 week away, 1 or 2 weeks away, but he could possibly be back soon. Lane from the coach, so they're a bit more time on the sidelines, so they're both injured. But it looks like Flanders possibly will be back this week. I don't think he was down as a test on the injury report, so he's likely to be back. Gods, they're probably looking to loophole, or they are looking at a loophole, Rosie, because that's what his squad says. He plays on Thursday night, and probably wouldn't be surprised if Signature Destroy loopholes Caldwell, because he's had two pretty different games. He had an awesome game against the Hawks and a bad game last week. So is Caldwell going to be the loophole? We'll see. As I said, this screening that you see was done on Tuesday, so who knows. His other options obviously are Jason Horn-Francis on Thursday, and also William Drew on Thursday. So the last game now, El Diablos, who are fourth, playing the Red Hot Bombers Forever, who are first and are a high-scoring machine. These two teams were the highest-scoring teams in the first round, so we could be in for a pretty good one, especially since the Adelaide boys are playing North in Adelaide, a place where North has never won against either South Australian teams. El Diablos welcome back Ben King from the bye, as well as Toby Green, but they're going to lose Crisp and Armady because they had their byes. Briggs is available and should be back from concussion. And I believe Lynch will return as well. Bombers Forever, they lose 4 to the bye in Roberts, Robot, Perriman and Papley, but they do regain wits. Bond's still 3 to 5 weeks away. And Mills, I think he's possibly 1 week away as well. They're the main injuries that Bombers Forever do have. Who are the loopholes? Well, possibly Elderlovers will be looking to loophole Wines, or they put Wines in that position. So Wines looks like loophole. What's loophole? Loophole Wines. Loophole against the Bombers. Well, Bombers remember that they currently got Ashcroft there, and their team was done because Wicks has been brought in. But it's an interesting choice considering they've got 6 other players that are playing before Ashcroft plays on Saturday night, and some of those include Sam Darcy, Jack McRae, Adam Chera, and Sam Dockley. So possibly might need to look at changing that, in my opinion, but it's not my team. And he's on fire for this season. Let's have a look at this week's games, as it all starts with Bombers and Port Thursday night, Blues Dogs on Friday. Super Saturday has the D's versus the Suns, the Saints and the Tigers, but Saturday night, 2 massive games. It's the rescheduled game of the Lions versus the Cats, and the big one between the Hawks and the Giants. Sunday, we've got the Crows versus North, and also the Western Derby. Alright, so that's it for today's show. Thank you very much. As you can tell, I had a bit of a script, so who knows how it ends up like. But it's something a little bit different. Let's see how it goes for the season. But thank you very much, and have a good night. Good luck to everyone this week.